Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to explore how meditation is a method of inner tuning, examining both the scientific and spiritual perspectives of how quantum phenomena such as entanglement, tunneling, and coherence became apparent in this process. Although biological processes occur in environments where quantum effects typically dissipate, current research indicates that distinct quantum events do affect processes like enzyme reactions, photosynthesis, and potentially brain function. And meditation is known to yield recognizable physiological changes that may also influence subtle quantum level processes within the body. So therefore, it can serve as a mechanism for inner tuning, coherently aligning our biological signals with consequences for scientific comprehension, such as improved self-regulation and hearing, and for spiritual insight, specifically the feeling of connection of the greater whole. Meditation is often discussed in terms of calming the mind, but it also measurably changes the body's biology. So let's break down some key physiological and neurological effects. During meditation, the brain's electrical activity shifts into distinct characteristic patterns, which EEG studies reveal as an increase in alpha waves, 8 to 12 Hz, the oscillations that are associated with relaxed alertness. Alongside theta waves, 4 to 7 Hz, the frequencies connected to deep relaxation or trance state in many practices. Experienced meditators typically generate stronger alpha-theta rhythms than novices, and an increase that correlates directly with the amount of training, demonstrating that theta activity often concentrates in frontal midline regions linked with focused internal attention. Significantly, this higher frontal theta corresponds with greater parasympathetic activation, the body's relaxation response, and a reduction in sympathetic arousal. Meanwhile, alpha oscillations become more synchronized across the frontal and parietal regions during meditation, reflecting a mental state that is both calm and wakeful. Meditation significantly shifts the dominance among brain networks, influencing how fast neurons fire. Brain imaging and fMRI research demonstrates that regular practice strengthens connections between the prefrontal cortex, which serves as the brain's executive control center, and emotional regulating regions such as the limbic system. For example, mindfulness is associated with reduced size and reactivity of the amygdala, the fear and stress center, alongside increased functional coupling with the frontal cortex, allowing the thinking brain greater capacity to modulate the emotional brain for calmer responses. Simultaneously, contemplative practices like mindfulness or forms of prayer quiet the default mode network, a circuit active during mind wandering and self-referential thoughts, resulting in lower DMN activity that correlates with reduced rumination and more present-centered awareness. Meditation enhances connectivity and attention circuits while decreasing the activity of the egocentric default mode network, which fosters improved focus and emotional balance. At the chemical level, meditation has been found to alter neurotransmitter levels in beneficial ways. Notably, regular meditators have had higher GABA levels. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter that calms neural activity, so this likely contributes to the anxiety-reducing effect of meditation. Serotonin, the neurotransmitter linked to mood and well-being, is also elevated with consistent meditation practice. Additionally, studies using PET scans during meditation have observed significant dopamine release. One famous study on yoga nidra meditation showed a 65% increase in endogenous dopamine in the brain's reward centers during meditation. This dopamine boost was accompanied by an increase in theta brainwaves, highlighting how chemical electrical changes go hand in hand. The uptick in dopamine likely explains why meditation can induce feelings of bliss or deep reward. Meditation may also increase endogenous opioids and andominide, the bliss molecule, but also importantly boosts the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which supports neuroplasticity and learning. In short, the meditative state biochemically resembles a natural feel-good cocktail of higher calming and mood-lifting neurotransmitters and lower stress chemicals. One of meditation's hallmark effects is activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest side of the ANS, and calming the sympathetic flight or flight side. Physiologically, this is seen in changes like a slower heart rate, lower blood pressure, and more rhythmic breathing during meditation. Heart rate variability, a measure of health variation in heartbeat intervals, tends to increase with regular meditation, a sign of greater vagal tone and resilience. In one 6-week study of daily meditation, 85% of participants showed improved HRV patterns, indicating better homeostatic regulation. At the same time, their cortisol levels, the primary stress hormone, dropped significantly. This reflects what meditators often report subjectively, that they have less stress and more equilibrium. In fact, HRV biofeedback confirms that meditation does shift the body into a state where the sympathetic drive is counterbalanced by a sympathetic activity, restoring automatic balance. Even during meditation, EEG evidence of increased frontal midline theta has been linked to activation of the vagus nerve, which drives the parasympathetic response. So when we say meditation induces relaxation, we can literally see the nervous system literally tipping towards the calm side. Researchers have found that higher heart rate variability in those who practice meditation corresponds directly to improved emotional regulation and stress tolerance, revealing meditation significantly induces the endocrine system. Regular practice is associated with reductions in cortisol and adrenaline, and sometimes an increased DHEA, a hormone that counteracts stress and supports immune function. Evidence indicates that meditation can enhance melatonin production, which normally rises at night from the pineal gland to regulate sleep. Studies have found that individuals who meditate, particularly in the evening or at a retreat, demonstrate higher circulating melatonin levels than control groups, which helps explain why meditators frequently report improved sleep quality. Since melatonin functions as a powerful antioxidant and immune booster, the increase induced by meditation offers an additional benefit for overall health. Other hormonal shifts observed include increases in growth hormone and prolactin during deep meditation states, which aligns the body with its repair and restore mode. Furthermore, a pilot study found higher telomeres activity, an enzyme related to cellular aging, in people who attended meditation retreat, suggesting meditation may slow a biological aging at the cellular level. Essentially, through boosting calming neurotransmitters, balancing the autonomic nervous system, and modulating hormones, meditation guides the body towards a state of homeostasis, the internal equilibrium where healing and regeneration are optimized. In other words, meditation isn't just in your head, it does orchestrate a whole body response. Brain circuits rewire, chemical messengers shift, and the nervous system tilts toward balance. This coordinated tuning of mind and body sets the stage for this deeper and possibly quantum level effects that we're going to go ahead and discuss next. So how might quantum biology intersect with meditation? One idea is that the brain might utilize quantum coherence, a state where particles oscillate in sync as a component of conscious processing. The most widely known hypothesis that you hear me talk a lot about stems from physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hamerhoff, who proposed that quantum coherent oscillations within microtubules, the structural proteins inside neurons, could generate moments of consciousness. They conceptually model the brain as a quantum computer, where awareness arises when quantum states in microtubules briefly align. But don't worry, that's not all I'm going to harp on today, because independent of the microtubule functioning as quantum processors, researchers have identified other neuronal sites for quantum effects. Ion channels, the protein tunnels regulating ion flow in and out of nerve cells, operate at nanoscopic levels where quantum rules apply. The channel's pores, measuring around 0.3 nanometers, are sufficiently small that passing ions may exhibit wave-like behavior and quantum tunneling. Recent theoretical work suggests that ions moving through a channel's selectivity filter may briefly exist in a superposition state, cohering and then decohering in a way that actually enhances conduction efficiency and speed. Calculations show that maintaining short-lived coherence within an ion channel could be necessary to explain how neurons conduct signals with such speed and selectivity. If the brain sustains minute pockets of quantum coherence, even for fleeting femtoseconds, meditation might influence these processes. Meditation produces highly coherent brainwave patterns, including in the 40 Hz gamma frequency observed in Buddhist monks and Sufi mystics during ecstatic practice. This macroscopic coherence, neurons firing in sync, may reflect or encourage micro-scale coherence. The proposition is that a deeply focused, integrated brain state during meditation might sufficiently reduce internal noise to allow quantum coherent effects to last longer or occur more readily. Meditation's mental clarity and unity could mirror physical coherence in the neural substrate, constituting a form of inner tuning down to the brain's quantum vibrations. All living cells, including those throughout the body, emit ultra-weak flashes of light known as biophotons. Photons generated by metabolic reactions, especially by reactive oxygen species in cells, which are so faint that they require a special photon counters for each detection. A growing body of research, however, suggests that photons may play a role in cell signaling and communications, effectively forming a biofield within and between organisms. And here, the relationship to meditation is that stress increases biophoton emission, likely because stress boosts free radical production and oxidative reactions, where meditative states appear to decrease these emissions. An experiment showed subjects who practiced meditation exhibited significantly lower photon emission from their hands and forehead compared to their pre-meditation state. Researchers interpret this finding as meditation reducing oxidative stress, suggesting the body becomes less biophotonic when calm, which benefits longevity. Biophotons from healthy tissue tend to display a higher degree of coherence, sometimes compared to coherent laser-like light, unlike the chaotic photons from stressed or diseased tissue. Theorists have drawn parallels between these coherent biophoton fields and the concepts of qi or prana, the vital energy in Chinese and Indian traditions. So it's reasonable to consider that bringing the mind-body to a state of harmony through meditation may increase the coherence of biophotonic emissions, supporting a more ordered internal communications network even with reduced total light output. While our understanding of this phenomenon is incomplete, meditation may function as a process of tuning the body's light signals, reducing random noise from free radicals, and potentially enabling a more ordered light communication among cells. Future research can explore whether advanced meditators may consciously or unconsciously modulate their biofield, a concept aligning with claims from certain healing practices like Reiki and Qigong that involve light or energy transmission. A core concept of quantum biology establishes that quantum tunneling, particles crossing energy barriers they classically cannot, occurs during biochemical reactions. Enzymes, the catalysts of life, frequently facilitate the tunneling of smaller particles like electrons and protons. For instance, in many biochemical reactions, hydrogen transfer does not go over the activation energy barrier, preferring the quantum tunnel through the barrier, appearing on the other side almost instantly. Evidence confirms that a fraction of proton transfers in enzymes involving tunneling, which helps explain how enzymes achieve reaction rates far exceeding classical chemistry predictions. Even DNA mutations involve the tunneling of protons between bases in processes in cellular respiration and photosynthesis, depending on the quantum tunneling of the proton across membranes. Additionally, meditation introduces systemic physiological changes such as reduced stress hormones, altered pH due to breathing techniques, and a lower metabolic rate in deep states. If meditation reduces overall oxidative stress and metabolic burn rate, the environment in cells shifts, altering pH, potentially slightly reducing temperature in deep states, and changing cofactor concentrations via hormonal signaling. These shifts could influence the efficiency of enzymatic reactions and the tunneling probabilities, as tunneling rates show sensitivity to the energy's barrier shape and the system's thermal noise. Clearly, quantum biology shows that our biochemical reactions possess an exotic, non-local quality, and meditation may gently influence the probabilistic nature of these reactions. By reducing stress and thus free radical damage, meditation creates a cellular environment where these quantum-dependent enzymes function with less interference, tuning the cellular orchestra to ensure even the smallest players achieve a clear performance. Long before laboratories and EEG machines, spiritual traditions around the world developed meditative practices as tools for inner transformation and connection with the divine. It's enlightening to see how different religions emphasize a similar core experience of stillness, attention, and unity, even if they explain it in their own unique symbolism. Let's tour a few traditions around the globe. Christianity, with contemplative prayer, is up first. While casual observers might not think of meditation in Christianity, and quite a few Christians would call it too spiritualist, the faith has a rich tradition of contemplative practice. Early Christian desert fathers and later mystics engaged in silent prayer and repetition of holy phrases. For example, the Jesus prayer in Eastern Orthodoxy, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, is a centering prayer and essentially a meditation on God, calming the mind and opening the heart to God's presence. The Bible itself encourages stillness. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10, a line that could be the motto of any meditation retreat. Modern brain studies on nuns and devoted Christians in deep prayer show patterns that are very akin to other forms of meditation: increased focus, reduced DMN activity, and greater theta alpha rhythms as they enter a contemplative state. Prayer, therefore, includes speaking to God, but its a profound aspect is listening, a receptive meditation. The New Testament also hints at group meditation and prayer effects. Matthew 18:20 says, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there among them." We can view this through a modern lens as well. When people pray or meditate together, there is palpable collective energy. Some Christian groups engage in charismatic prayer or centering prayer circles, where the group silence or synchronized intention seems to amplify spiritual experience. This resonates with the idea of a collective consciousness. More on that in a moment. In essence, Christianity's contemplative thread sees meditation as an inner tuning to God's frequency. You quiet the internal noise and attune to the still small voice of the divine, a process as much about personal transformation, peace, love, and compassion, as it is about spiritual communion. And the second one is Sufism, or Islamic mysticism. In Islam, formal meditation techniques are less publicized, but the mystical branch of Sufism is full of meditative practice. Sufi meditation involves quietly focusing on God, often using breath and visualization, while dhikr involves the repetitive chanting of divine names or phrases, like Allah or La ilaha illallah, to cultivate an ecstatic unity with the divine. Anyone who has witnessed or participated in a Sufi whirling dervish ceremony can attest that it is a profound meditative trance. The dervishes spin in a steady rhythm, one hand up to the heavens and one hand down to earth, symbolically channeling divine energy. This whirling, combined with chanting and music, can induce altered states of consciousness very similar to deep meditation. Neuroscientific research on Sufi practitioners is limited but telling. One study noted that Sufi meditators can achieve highly coherent brainwave states, including strong gamma oscillations, which is interestingly the same high-frequency harmony observed in advanced Tibetan Buddhist meditators. Sufi literature, especially the poetry of Rumi, is replete with metaphors about tuning and union. Rumi speaks of polishing the heart's mirror, of becoming one song with the beloved. One could say that Sufism frames meditation as falling in love with the divine from within. In that absorption, the individual self fades. Some Sufis describe ego death or fana, and what remains is an experience of unity, which is sometimes described as baka, or enduring in God. From a quantum perspective, one might whimsically compare this to particles becoming entangled. The Sufi seeks to entangle their consciousness with God's light, losing separate identity. Sufi group rituals also emphasize the collective aspect. The group's coherent devotion creates a field that elevates in everyone. In summary, Sufi meditation techniques are inner tuning practices aimed at harmony with the divine, leading to bliss, gnosis, and profound peace. And the third that we're going to look at is Judaism and the Kabbalah and the Kabbalist meditations. Judaism has an ancient meditative heritage, particularly preserved in the mystical tradition of the Kabbalah. Kabbalistic meditation often involves contemplative focus on Hebrew letters or divine names, guided visualizations, and kavanot, or intentions, to unite with aspects of God's emanation. For instance, a Kabbalist may deeply contemplate on the Tetragrammaton, which is YHVH, or visualize descending the Seraphot in the mystical tree of life spheres in prayer. These practices were kept esoteric for many centuries, but in modern times many teachings have been made accessible. I have a few Kabbalah books back there too. A common Kabbalistic meditation is to visualize light flowing throughout the body while repeating a sacred phrase, effectively tuning one's soul to higher frequencies. Texts like the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Creation, describe meditative methods using the building blocks of creation, the Hebrew letters. Engaging with sacred text itself can be a meditation. For example, a rabbi might take a single line of Torah and mentally repeat, permute, and delve into each word until a deeper revelation arises. This is similar to mantra meditations in Eastern traditions, but with linguistic and intellectual layers. Contemporary accounts note that Kabbalistic meditation invites focus on the symbols and names of God, using visualization and scripture as tools to deepen self-awareness and divine connection. Moreover, Hitbodedut, a practice popularized by Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, involves going out into nature and speaking spontaneously with God in solitude, essentially a Jewish form of mindfulness and emotional catharsis. All of these show within Judaism that meditation is a means to elevate the mind and attach it to the divine. From a spiritual physics standpoint, the Kabbalist seeks resonance with God's creative energy, aligning their inner vibrations via language, imagery, and feeling with the cosmic frequencies set forth in creation. This is inner tuning in a very explicit sense. The literal letters believed to be underlying reality are used as notes in a meditative melody. And the last is Taoism and Eastern traditions. In Chinese Taoist tradition, meditation is integral to practices like Qigong and Tai Chi, as well as internal alchemy techniques like Nidan. Taoist meditation focuses on cultivating and circulating qi, which is the vital energy or life force, through the body's meridians, and harmonizing oneself with the Tao, or the underlying way of the universe. A typical Taoist meditation might involve breathing slowly into the abdomen, or the dantian, visualizing energy moving from the microscopic orbit along the spine and front of the body and dissolving tension in the organs. The goal is often longevity, healing, and spiritual insight, achieved by inner alignment. Notably, Taoist texts describe meditation leading to states of profound calm and clarity termed Wu Wei, effortless action, and Wuji, a state of emptiness or oneness preceding duality. In Taoist philosophy, human beings are seen as microcosms of the cosmos, so meditative alignment internally can bring one into accord with nature externally. Modern studies on Qigong and Tai Chi meditation indicate improved autonomic balance similar to other forms, and practitioners often report sensations of warmth or light flowing in the body, which could correlate with things like increased microcirculation or even biophoton alignment. Taoism also emphasizes compassionate meditation, transforming negative emotions in the organs like anger, fear, and grief into positive virtues, kindness, courage, and acceptance through inner smile meditations. This echoes the holistic mind-body-spirit approach. By tuning one's inner elemental energies, health and enlightenment follow. Quantum-wise, one can say that Taoist meditation treats the body as an energy field and seeks to reduce entropy in that field. Indeed, some case studies claim that organized breathing and intention, like in Sufi and Taoist practices, manifest as negative entropy in EEG, brainwaves moving towards more order and harmony. That's a fancy way of saying that the system becomes more coherent, more organized, more together, more aligned. This coherence concept, whether phrased as qi balance or quantum order, is at the heart of Taoist inner tuning. Oh, that wasn't the last one. This is the last one. Is indigenous and shamanic traditions. Indigenous peoples worldwide have had a rich meditative and trance traditions used for healing and spiritual communion. For example, many Native American tribes engage in vision quests, solo fasting and praying in nature for days to receive visions, a deeply meditative ordeal that alters consciousness. Similarly, practices like the sweat lodge involve sensory deprivation, a dark heat, and repetitive drumming or chanting to induce a trance state where participants often report spiritual insights or emotional catharsis. And I think we've all heard of the shamans in the Amazon that use ayahuasca ceremonies, which, while pharmacologically induced, require the meditative focus and intention. The shamans guide participants through an inner journey with Icaros, sacred songs, that could be seen as a form of focused sound meditation. Across Africa, the Americas, Asia, and Oceania, shamans and medicine people have used rhythmic drumming, dancing, and chanting to shift consciousness, effectively a meditation in motion. These often lead to feeling of merging with nature or encountering spirit guides, analogous in some ways to the union experience described in other religions. Indigenous group healing rituals are also notable. In a circle dance or group chat, participants synchronize their breathing, steps, and voices, creating a collective rhythmic coherence. Anthropologically, this has the effect of strengthening the social bonds and may even have physiological effects. Shared heart rhythm can entrain heart rates and brainwaves amongst groups members. And for me, I have had the honor of being witness to a drum ceremony, and I think I've shared this story before, but I went into this drum ceremony and I had a migraine, a very bad one, and I was at first concerned, of course, because I'm going into a drum ceremony, and typically pounding isn't good for migraines, but as I was sitting there, the steady beating of the drums and the rhythmic chanting, with every single drum beat, the headache just reduced and reduced and reduced and reduced and went away. And it was just such a fantastic experience that was totally opposite of what I expected. I highly recommend, if you guys ever get the chance to experience a true traditional Native American drum ceremony, definitely do it. It is worth it. When a community prays or dances with one heart, it's as if the intentions become entangled, forming a collective consciousness field. Distant healing prayer and rain dances, for instance, operate on the belief that focused group intention can influence external events, a notion that aligns loosely with the idea of consciousness as a field, and indeed some parapsychology experiments have tried to detect the effects of group intention on random number generators, suggesting a weak field effect. While science hasn't confirmed that aspect, it does confirm that people in coordinated group activities can sync states. To connect back to that biblical line, when two or more are gathered, perhaps their individual mind waves lock onto that shared divine wavelength, amplifying the signal, be it spiritual presence or just emotional support. Remarkably, a 17-year study on group meditation in the Transcendental Meditation tradition found that when a critical mass of people meditated together, societal stress indicators like violence and accidents showed a statistically significant decrease. The researchers interpreted this as a phase transition in collective consciousness, essentially calming a unified field effect when enough people generated coherent thought waves. A modern echo of ancient wisdom. Indigenous cultures have always believed that praying or meditating together can heal the tribe. Each mind is like a quantum element that can become phase-locked with others, creating a larger ordered pattern that might influence the whole system. Regardless of your interpretation, the take-home is that meditation and prayer in one form or another are ubiquitous in human spirituality, a testament to their efficacy in tuning our inner body and sometimes even the symphony of the group. Across these traditions, we can see common threads: the use of breath, repetition of words or sounds, visualization of light or energy, and the goal of transcending the ordinary mind into something greater. Meditation is the bridge between the human and the divine, whether that divine is called God, Allah, Brahma, the Tao, or the Great Spirit. And intriguingly, modern science is starting to validate these effects, if not the metaphysics of these practices, showing that prayer and meditation can reshape the brain, reduce stress, and perhaps synchronize groups. It's a beautiful convergence of an ancient practice with emerging knowledge. So by my clock, I've been yabbering on about inner tuning now for about an hour, but if you're not totally turned off by that term, let me explain what tuning is exactly. At one level, it's tuning the mundane aspects of physiology, the heart, brain, and breath rhythms. At another level, it is tuning the channels of information and perception that define our reality. Here we consider meditation's effects on how we process information, both sensory data and possibly information at subtler quantum levels. In meditation, practitioners learn to fine-tune their attention. This can lead to experiences of heightened sensory clarity or conversely sensory withdrawal. For example, a meditator might notice the subtleties of breath or body sensation that they have never felt before, essentially boosting the signal-to-noise ratio of internal sensory processing. On the flip side, deep meditation and many prayer states can produce a profound sense of detachment from external stimuli. One might become so absorbed in a mantra or inner visualization that sounds, sights, and even pain fade away. The brain's information filters are being adjusted. Neuroscientifically, meditation increases activation in attention networks and decreases activity in self-referential and distractive networks, like the DMN as mentioned. This means more of your brain's bandwidth is allocated to present moment inputs or chosen objects of focus, rather than to wandering thoughts or anxieties. Some advanced meditators even report synesthetic or visionary experiences, e.g., seeing the inner light or geometric patterns, or feeling at one with the environment. These could result from the brain's sensory areas getting cross-activated or from deprivation effects. The brain tunes in to internal signals when the external input is minimal. In any case, meditation definitely changes how we process information. It cultivates a meta-awareness, awareness of awareness itself, and can make perception more reflective, observing sensations, thoughts as passing phenomena rather than reactive. In computer terms, it's like switching the mind from overwhelmed online mode to a clean debug mode, where you can watch the code of your experience running without getting lost in it. This also allows subtle signals that are normally drowned out, like intuitive gut feelings or compassion cues, to be noticed more easily. Some meditators describe a sense of accessing deeper intuition or insight, as if by quieting the internal chatter that they can receive knowledge from within. From a quantum viewpoint, the meditative mind is like a finely tuned receiver. It's an antenna that, when properly adjusted, can detect the faint signals that are normally masked by noise. Whether those signals are from the unconscious mind, the collective unconscious, or something transcendent is up to your own interpretation. But clearly, meditation refines the brain's information processing, offering yielding sharper senses, better focus, and a broader, calmer awareness of whatever is present. Now we venture on into more mysterious but fun territory. Quantum entanglement is the phenomenon where two or more particles become linked in such that a state of one instantly influences the state of the other, no matter the distance between them. So, how on earth could this possibly relate to consciousness or meditation? Some theorists have proposed that consciousness might involve quantum entangled states in the brain, or even that the mind could tap into entangled information beyond the body. While it sounds sci-fi, there has been research hinting that certain brain processes might display entanglement-like correlations. For instance, a recent study attempted a clever experiment. They entangled photons and used them in a double-blind learning task with human participants to see if entangled inputs enhanced cognitive performance. Surprisingly, the results suggested that entangling the stimuli did improve learning efficiency, and the authors claimed this as evident that entangled quantum processes can enhance conscious experience. They even introduced a metric for how much quantum entanglement contributed to the outcome, and found significant effects on EEG patterns and neuroplasticity markers when entanglement was involved. This is early evidence and needs replication, but it raises the astonishing possibility that the brain can in fact interface with quantum entangled information. If that's true, one can also speculate that a meditative mind is better positioned to entangle with such non-local entangled information. Why? Because meditation increases coherence and reduces ordinary distraction, perhaps enabling awareness of subtle interconnections. There are anecdotal accounts of longtime meditators experiencing telepathy, premonitions, or a sense of unity consciousness where boundaries dissolve, like two violin strings resonating together. And some experiments have tried to test meditators on being able to entangle with each other or with their environment. For example, pairs of people, often twins or romantic partners, meditating in separate Faraday cages have shown coincident EEG responses when one is stimulated. It's a certainly controversial finding, but it hints at a mind-to-mind connection beyond the senses. Such results have led researchers to consider if consciousness has a non-local component. Under meditation, especially in group settings, individual brain minds start to synchronize. It's as if separate minds may become entangled into one system, the classic two or more are gathered effect in scientific terms. In fact, the collective meditations, like the TM study we mentioned, posited a kind of field effect of consciousness. Some physicists, like John Henglin, have directly likened large group meditation creating coherent superradiance in a population, akin to a laser emitting influence in orderliness into the environment. This is essentially applying quantum optic metaphors to consciousness. At the very least, meditation clearly entangles the mind with the body, bringing mental and physiological states to unity, and it can entwine the individual within the group through shared intention. So if there is quantum underpinning to these bonds, meditation might be the practice that strengthens them. So now we've seen how meditation affects the nervous and endocrine systems, but what about down at the cellular and molecular level? The moment-to-moment activities in our cells, gene expression, protein interactions, electrical signaling, can be seen as a vast orchestra of signals. Stress, for example, sets off a chain of signals. Cortisol binds to immune cells and triggers inflammatory gene expression. And one of the remarkable findings in mind-body research is that meditation can change gene expression patterns in your cells within a relatively short time frame. In a controlled study of stressed individuals, just 8 weeks of daily meditation led to downregulation of pro-inflammatory genes and upregulation of genes involved in antiviral defense. Specifically, meditation induced the activity of the NF-κB pathway, a master controller of inflammation, and boosted activity of interferon-related genes that help fight viruses. This is a clear demonstration that the meditative state percolates down into the cellular information level, altering which DNA is being transcribed. The how is likely via changes in hormone levels, autonomic neurotransmitters, and secondary messengers that reach the cell nucleus. Another example is that meditation has been associated with increased telomeres activity, the enzyme that repairs chromosome ends. In a small study, participants on meditation retreat showed a 30% greater telomeres activity in their immune cells than controls, suggesting better cellular longevity potential. This implies that the signal of meditation instructs cells to shift into a repair maintenance mode at the genetic level. Furthermore, meditation might influence bioelectrical signaling in the body. Our cells, especially neuron and heart cells, communicate via electrical impulses. Meditative breathing techniques, for instance, cause cyclic patterns in heart rate and blood pressure that in turn create synchronized waves of stretch and electrical activity through tissues. Some researchers propose that these coherent oscillations could facilitate better cell-to-cell communication, like coordinating calcium waves or gap junction signals. And if we dip into quantum biology once again, we can also use electrons as signals in metabolism and mitochondrial respiration. A calmer metabolic state might reduce noisy electron flux and allow more efficient electron tunneling through the mitochondria, theoretically improving energy production efficiency. And going back to biophoton discussion for a moment, the cells emit photons as part of their signaling. If a meditation reduces random photon bursts due to less oxidative stress, then any putative photon-based communication might become clearer. In essence, meditation seems to send a global message to the body. We are safe, restored, and balanced. Cells take that message and adjust their internal programs accordingly, dialing up and down inflammatory signals, ramping up healing processes, and synchronizing rhythms with one another. It's like conducting an entire orchestra. When the conductor signals for a slower tempo, all of the sections slow down in unison. The result is a harmonious internal environment where information flows smoothly and efficiently rather than a cacophony of stress signals. This state might be the optimal one for the body to repair damage, fight pathogens, and maintain health. So meditation as inner tuning is also informational tuning at the cellular level, ensuring that the symphony of signals within us is melodious rather than dissonant. Meditation serves as a comprehensive inner tuning that establishes a highly coherent physiological state, measurable by metrics like synchronized brain rhythms, lower cortisol, and increased heart rate variability. This ancient, universally practiced ritual acts as a potentially daily vitamin for the whole self, scientifically realigning stress hormones and boosting immune function, while spiritually fostering a profound sense of presence, compassion, and interconnectedness. By bridging these verifiable scientific and transcendent spiritual perspectives, meditation becomes a profound celebration of the mind-body connection, transforming the individual from the cellular quantum level to the vast human experience and contributing to a more coherent collective vibration. Furthermore, the sustained practice leads to neuroplastic changes in the brain, strengthening areas associated with focus, emotional regulation, and self-awareness, making the benefits cumulative and long-lasting. Embrace this conversion to unlock sustainable peace, vibrant health, and a deeper, more awakened awareness of the quantum miracle of life unfolding within and around you. That will be all for this episode. Thank you so much for liking. Don't forget to comment down below, like, and subscribe like the winners that you are, and I will see you next time. Bye.